in the Taylor Swift era. The stats that matter, alongside Brian McFadden. I'm your host, Joe Musso. Our postgame is presented by America's Navy, forged by the sea. This one was forged in ice, B-Mac.
Yes.
The weather was a storyline that maybe underplayed a lot of what we saw, and we'll get there. But I want to start with the heat that was the Chiefs. No, it wasn't they flipped the switch type moment, but did you see steps in the right direction to let you know this is a playoff team that still needs to be considered as one of the contenders?
No question. Anytime you have Pat Mahomes as your quarterback, Andy Reid as your head coach, you have more than a fighting chance to get to the Super Bowl. And what we saw tonight in a game where we all felt like everything was in favor of the Chiefs being able to find a way to come out on top, it surfaced, it became a reality. I love what I saw from the balance side of things offensively for the Chiefs. You talk about through the air, 262 yards, Joe. On the ground, 146 yards they were able to get as a team led by Isaiah Pacheco. And defensively, outstanding, stout, dominant play. They got Tua down to the ground, 2 sacks. You talk about the tight coverage in the back end. Outside of that one long touchdown reception for Tyreek Hill in the first quarter, we didn't see anything relevant from Miami Dolphins and an explosive offense. So it's safe to say defensively, the same song that was played tonight that we listened to the entire season, along with some, productive running coming from Isaiah Pacheco and the offensive side. So if they can kind of continue that sense of balance, that source of balance, you have to like their chances.
We've been saying it. This is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has had. Yeah. So why go on and squander it? 7 points they allow in this game, the fewest in a playoff game during the Pat Mahomes era. So falls right in line, as you said, with what we've been hearing all season long. But another thing we've been hearing all season long, issues offensively, some drops. They did clean that up in the second half, but red zone is what I want to focus on here. 2 of 6 only for Kansas City. That'll work in this moment, but moving forward, you can't take 3 when 7's on the board. What are you seeing in the red area that's giving the Chiefs trouble right now?
Just the inability to run the football. I think they need to stick with running the football in the red area, because the closer you get to the goal line, the more probable it is for you to score touchdowns. We saw them kind of getting away from the running game. I feel like Isaiah Pacheco, based on the numbers, he was very, very successful. Continue to lean on him in the ground and pound attack, because when you look at them not running the football well, it forces you to become one-dimensional. And when we saw that tonight, Vic Fangio and his defensive staff, they were dialing up blitz to make things hot for Pat Mahomes in the pocket, and unfortunately, he was not able to deliver, and they had to settle for a lot of field goals.
Miami's season comes to a close here. Tua Tagovailoa did not play his best football. The cold that we thought would affect this game affected, yes, both sides, but it seemed to affect Miami more. How much did the cold play into what you saw?
A lot. You can tell the guys were never comfortable. The quarterback was never comfortable, and he looked like the one player offensively that never found a sense of comfort going through these conditions, the climate. So we knew it was going to be a challenge. Heck, watching Tua throughout his professional career, anytime he played in 40 or below weather, he struggled. We felt like the same thing was surfaced once again tonight, and no question, it was right on point.
As you look at Miami this year, Mac, it was a different feel, a different vibe, but it ends in the same way, a loss in the first rounds of the playoffs. Yes, this was Tua's first go at playoff football. He was injured, could not play in the wild card round a year ago. Did this feel like a step forward for Miami in your eyes?
Not necessarily. I think anytime you get into the playoffs, it is a step forward. So let me say that. That is a plus. But seeing what happened tonight, seeing what happened the last few weeks for the Miami Dolphins, this is a disappointment, because they should have been playing at home. When you control your division for the majority of the season and you lost control of your said division at the end of the season, that's unacceptable. And because of that, instead of playing in Miami, you had to go on the road to Kansas City in a very, very difficult situation. And of course, the outcome was not the outcome you wanted.
Still no playoff wins since the year 2000. It depends what happens in the games to come. If Detroit pulls off a win, that would be the longest drought remaining in the NFL. Jay Fiedler, the last Miami Dolphins quarterback that can say he led his team to playoff success, a win that is a larger question, maybe conversation to be had about Tua in another moment, maybe on another day, maybe later on in this show. But I want to get back to Kansas City here, and I want to take you directly back to Kansas City, where our Aditi Kinkhamwala is standing by and braving this cold. Aditi, we appreciated a couple thoughts here before we say goodbye to the night. A lot of that cold and intensity came through the screen. Give us an idea of maybe something we missed as you took this in from field level, from up in the box, the moment that was. How were the Chiefs able to control it?
There was just a tremendous focus from the Chiefs, and even though Andy Reid chose to rest so many of his starters last week, there was no rust at all. They set the tone immediately with what they wanted, and once again, what we talked about, Joe, before the game, it was this defense that drove the Chiefs. The Chiefs had to settle for those 4 field goals, sandwiched around the 2 touchdowns, of course, or sandwiched in between, the 2 touchdowns, but this defense shut down the Dolphins' run game. This defense created enough of a pass rush, and as George Karlaftis told me right after the game, this defense somehow ignored the cold that I am unable to ignore in any way.
Well, I only got one more for you, and then we'll get you to the warmth, because it was a Chiefs Chiefs game that we're not used to seeing, an effort that is different, but they're still getting it done. On the other side, this is a Miami team that was unable to shift to what was asked of this moment. Everything we thought the cold would limit, it seemed to. Did you get a sense of the disappointment from Miami coming off the field as their season ends with losses to the Ravens, the Bills, and now the Chiefs, really the teams that they're looking up at in that conference?
Minimize that this Miami Dolphins team lost its 3 best pass rushers. And when that defense is without its pass rushers, the complete face of the team changes. With that disappointment, you're right. You were just talking about this. This is an organization that has been waiting a long time for a playoff win, has felt as if it's close. Last year, I was on the field in Buffalo. Not quite as cold as today, but a cold day in Buffalo when Skylar Thompson had to go. Tua was unable. I'm sorry, my lips are freezing together. When Tua was unable to go in that game. Now, Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert were indeed up, but it just wasn't enough. That Tua couldn't get to his weapons. The Dolphins couldn't get an offense going against really what is an outstanding defense.
Didi, we can't thank you enough for the reporting and for your thoughts. Now, go get somewhere warm. That's the only thing we ask from here.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
Our team at the NFL on CBS covering you coast to coast. Didi Kinkabwala giving us our report from KC, where yet again, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs walk away winners. And there is history in this moment as well. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, now 12 playoff wins together as they pass Roger Staubach and Tom Landry for the 3rd most wins by a quarterback head coaching duo. Mahomes also now the most active playoff wins, most wins by an active quarterback currently in the NFL as he passes Aaron Rodgers in his 11 wins. Now 12 to the name of Mahomes as he gets it done once again in the wild card round.